This is Bethan Soar on Thursday the 5th of March 2020, recording for Lights at Derby Theatre. Can you please introduce yourself and tell me when and where you were born?
I was born on the 17th of September 1963 in Marston Green in a home for unmarried mothers, which I only found out about 3 years ago.
Can you tell me what you do, please?
I am the chief exec and the artistic director of Graeae Theatre Company.
Lovely. What is your connection to the East Midlands?
Well, my mum was from Nottingham, then my grandparents sent her off to Birmingham, Marston Green to have me, then came back, so I grew up in Nottingham, all of my education in Nottingham, and that's where I fell in love with theatre, dancing and everything. So it's home.
Lovely. Who did you live with growing up?
When I was growing up, I lived with my mum and dad, and I have 3 younger sisters, so I'm the eldest of 4.
What did your parents do for work?
My mum and dad both worked for this photography studio. That's where they met. And then my dad set up with his best friend Rob, set up a bigger photography place out in Kimberley. So they did weddings, parties, just headshots, and then they did the Boots catalogue as well. And then when my third sister was born, when Jackie was born, Mum stopped working. So she was, stay-at-home mum, which was lovely.
It's very interesting. What is your first memory of theatre?
Ooh, blimey, that's a hard one. I think my first memory of... I started ballet when I was 6. I went deaf when I was 7, but I carried on doing ballet. And our dancing teacher, Nora Morrison, from Morrison School of Dancing, ensured that we did a show every year. And we used to do it at the Cooperative Arts Theatre, which is now a cinema in Hockley. But that's where we did a show. So my experience was actually doing shows rather than seeing shows.
What was the main trigger for you wanting to work in theatre?
I wanted to be a dancer, not an actor. When I did my A-levels, I did theatre studies, and we did so much acting, and it was a real learning curve, and some dance, but I carried on doing my dancing with Miss Morrison. Then when I went to Middlesex Polytechnic, they wouldn't let me on the drama course, drama component of a BA, because my boys, they were worried about cues, how would I cope, and all the rest of it. So I thought, So I went into the dance bit for an audition, and I got into the course through dancing. And then it was being with all those other dancers and realising my body shape and the size of my breasts were not aligned with becoming a professional dancer. So through the Middlesex Poly, I started to get more and more involved in the acting side of it. And that's when I thought, no, I would like to be an actor, not a dancer.
Who is your biggest inspiration in these years?
I think Nora Morrison was extraordinary woman who just inspired all of her girls, and some of them, there were a few boys, but it was mainly girls. And her tenacity for discipline and for grace and to use your body to tell a story. So Nora Morrison and Marilyn Church, who was my drama teacher at Clouding College, which is no longer there. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So those 2 women, and my mum. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's very good to have them women in your life. We understand that you lost your hearing as a child. Would you be able to tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's my best friend, Raymond McIntosh. Spiky hair, little round glasses. We were messing around at school, Hayden Road Primary School. His mum was a cleaner, so we were going to jump out behind the bookshelf and scare her. I mean, not a very nice thing to do, but anyway, so we were working out, plotting how we were going to do this. And he was just messing around and he pushed me. It wasn't malicious, it was just one of those off-jam sort of thing. Fell, whacked my head on the corner of the table. And I got up and I went, and I still do that when I put my hearing aid in to make sure I can hear, I went, I can't hear. And I just ran home, got to the corner of our lane, and the Roberts family were up there, this horrible boys, and they were beating up my friend, so I got stuck in, and I fell again, but this time on my arse, and I got up, I can't hear. Ran down the lane, got home, and went, Mummy, I can't hear. And she said, don't worry, darling, sleep on it in the morning, you'll be fine. And the next morning, I woke up, and I had this horrible, flat, heavy cotton, bottled green curtain. It was disgusting when I think about it. And I thought, right, there's a tree opposite, and we had a red squirrel in the tree, which was very rare even back then. I thought, if the squirrel is there, I will be able to hear. If it's not, oh, no squirrels. I hate squirrels. But so then there were hospital appointments, blah, 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 blah. Nobody could work out why I was deaf. But they agreed, I am deaf. So I got my first little hearing aid, little box hearing aid. And you have to have a pouch thing. And I'm very particular about colours. I could only wear 2 colours, you see. So my mum, bless her heart, had to make all these pouches to match all my dresses. And nobody tells you how to be deaf. So I just went straight back to school. I had to teach myself to lip read, teach myself how I was going to cope in the class with teachers walking up and down. I was always had to sit next to someone who had good handwriting. Even if I didn't like them, I had to sit next to them. And I would just be... So my school books or my writing, it's like that because I'm not looking at what I'm doing. They're hilarious.
How do you think this impacted the career that you chose?
It's a twofold thing, really. I would not be at Graeae if I wasn't deaf, because Graeae is around opportunities for deaf and disabled people. So I do have this ongoing nightmare that I'm in the office at Graeae and I'm on the phone and I'm chatting away, having a great conversation, all the staff come in and they just go, Jenny, you can hear. And I have to pack my stuff and leave. And it's an awful nightmare, but if I wasn't deaf, I wouldn't be at Graeae. Graeae is all about giving deaf and disabled people opportunities in theatre and opportunities to lead. It is the most extraordinary job. In the 80s, it was a really good time to be different, because those small companies really understood that they needed to embrace and wanted to embrace real diversity. So being deaf wasn't a barrier. It was like, we actively want to give those opportunities to others. And so I worked for Harvard Young People's Theatre, Theatre Centre, Red Ladder. I auditioned about 1 million times for Nottingham Roundabout, but they never gave me a job. But much later, I did a lot of projects in special schools around Nottinghamshire, so I did work for Roundabout. So actually, for me, it wasn't a barrier, but I didn't have... my very first acting job, though, was with Graeae. And I will never forget that audition, walking into this room full of women. It was a women's play. People who were deaf, blind, no legs, guide dogs, white sticks, wheelies. This plethora of difference. It was extraordinary. And I suddenly thought, I'm home. This is where I finally belong. It was just amazing. And I got the job. Terrible play. But what an education. And the tour was all over the country, sometimes in inaccessible spaces. So we refused, this radical group of women, we refused to do a play in an inaccessible space. And instead we did a forum piece for the audience arriving, saying we can't get in there. I mean, why the hell the administrative Graeae have booked us into an inaccessible space, I do not know. And then years later, I go back as the artistic director.
That's lovely, yeah. What is your own personal journey into the industry?
I think I still have the same ambition. I need to make sure I have enough money coming in to pay for a roof over my head, pay for my nice coffee. I'm a real coffee snob. And beer, but that's less important now. But it's about So in terms of being massively ambitious, I don't think I was massively ambitious, but I wanted to work. And being in those small companies, because of the hard, real political undercurrent of how they were formed and what they were about, it was like, oh my God, this is heaven on earth. And this is what I want to do. You know, a half moon, because I was there for 5 years, it meant we could go to see little ones and we see them a few years later when they're a bit older. It was not a journey with those young people. And theatre and education, I bring it back. It was the most important work ever. Being in school, taking to theatre to kids who can't afford or may never get that experience, and to really spend time with them. Oh, and then I think that's when I realised, you know, the TV, all that stuff, I'm not actually interested in this. I want to be a person that makes theatre or does theatre for people that matter, with politics and care.
That is absolutely amazing. Can you tell me about any training that you've had?
Apart from Middlesex Poly, no, and I've had no training of how to be a director. I mean, I am one of these people that makes up life as it goes along. You know, that thing, I mean, I think so many women have imposter syndrome, and I really do have that. I think, you know, one day someone's going to find me out. I only know 4 Shakespeares. I'm so embarrassed. So there's loads of plays I don't know. And how to manage and run a company, I am just...
When did you first realise that you were good at directing?
I was 7 months pregnant with Jonah, and there was a little tiny weeny advert in the stage paper looking at Interplay Theatre Company based in Armley in Leeds. We're looking for a trainee director, and it was just a 6-week contract. I thought, oh yeah. So I applied, got it, and sat on a beanbag, because it was massive. Sat on a beanbag and watched Sean Palmer direct this play called Dream Kitchen. And it was watching him do things, and I was thinking, oh, I don't think that's the right choice. I would have done it. I would do it like this, that and that. And it was that thought process, and I thought, oh, maybe I could do this. And what an amazing man. As soon as baby out, I did some work with Graeae Theatre Company, devising something, and then Interplay asked me back. And John gave me 2 of my own shows to do. And although their work is hugely multisensory for young people with profound and multiple impairments, you have to think on every single level of how you're going to communicate. So we did The Tempest, which remains my favourite play ever, and a beautiful play by Mike Kenny called Stepping Stones, about mothers and daughters and independence. So how lucky was I to have that as a training ground? And it's from that I got the confidence to apply for the Graeae job. But all my trainee assistant directors, I say to them, you won't learn from me what I do well. You will learn from watching me thinking, oh God, why is Jen doing that? That's not going to work. That's when you know that you could do it better.
What qualities do you think makes a good director?
I think there has to be a level of transparency that you don't know everything. You know, and I'm one of these directors that I hate sitting around the table going through every line, actioning. I don't know how to do it. I've got the book, I've read the book, I don't get it. I think it's boring. But, you know, it's a really good way of working for many, many actors. But for me, it's like, get on the floor, play around, and then I'll see something, go, right, I like that bit, that works. How did that feel character-wise? And we inform, we play, and we find out about the character through that. So I think I like to collaborate, but I also know that I have to be the person that stops, because conversation can go on for like 500 hours. You have to keep control of the big picture. So I think the best thing is to be collaborative and to give space for actors to find the journey themselves and to do their homework.
What drives you to do your job?
oh, the absolute inequality that's out there for deaf and disabled people. That's what gets me to work every day, to try and make the world a better place for our little young country. They're saying, Jenny, I want to go to RADA, I want to go wherever. Yes, they have absolutely every right, but those drama schools are not ready yet. You know, I've been working with drama schools for 20 years, try and get them to think about the wider picture. So we've got our own little training thing. We've got ensemble, I've got 7 new students, artists. And I want the world for them. You know, I really, really do. Because that Graeae was founded because there were no opportunities for Nabil Shaban when he decided he wanted to be an actor. You know, theatre directors, to his face, said, oh, there's someone who looks like you, no, we can't have you on our stage. You know, put the audience off. I mean, so Nabil, you know, what you could do back then, go to the Arts Council and say, right, I've got an idea for a theatre company for deaf and disabled people. Can I have some money? Boom. And off we went. And the mission statement in 1981, when the company was founded, is exactly the same as it is in 2020. We've made a lot of change. Derby Theatre got a complete integrated card for Treasure Island. The Ramps on the Moon work in an inclusive way, the RSC, the National, the Globe, they're all starting to think about it, which is brilliant, but we've still got a long way to go.
Yeah. If you had to choose, what 3 words would you use to describe your job?
That's a really hard question. Someone who talks a lot about that. Challenging, political, awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that. What is the difference between being a director and being an artistic director?
I don't really know. An artist, a director, oversees the artistic whole of the company. So it's about what happens with the young company, what happens with the ensemble, what happens with the new playwriting, what happens. So I have to oversee, get my hands stuck in all aspects of the company and deliver an artistic overview. I suppose an artistic strategy, I hate that word, but it's what do we want to do and then how are we going to do it and who are we missing? Because we haven't done enough with deafblind people, we haven't done enough with changing faces, we've got a lot of people that we still haven't embraced. So it's about how are they all part of our artistic future. Being the chief executive means I have to know where the finances are. I'm not very good at that, but I've got a very, very good financial director.
And what do you struggle most with in directing?
Finding a way of how, because I have interpreters with me in rehearsal, I have to. So it's about finding what the communication is for the performers and for me. So if I've got deaf actors, the interpreters are working for the deaf actor and they're working for me, so we have to organise the room. I think because of Graeae, our aesthetic is how do we have signing, captioning, audio description woven into the heart of every production. And every play is different. Because it has to be the play that informs you how to create the access, not put access on it. So it's from the inside out rather than outside on, if you know what I mean. And that is hard. It's really, really hard to get it right. And we haven't made the most accessible play yet. We are on that mission to do it because every deaf and blind person has a different viewpoint of how access should be.
Yeah. What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't a director?
I'll be a cleaner. I'm brilliant at it. Yeah, I cleaned all the way through college and I ironed and I love laundry. So I might work in a laundrette.
Was there anyone who gave you your big break or really championed you?
I think John Palmer, who at Interplay, he was the one that gave me some plays to play around with, that gave me the confidence to direct. And David Johnson, the lovely late Dave Johnson, who was he used to be at Theatre Centre and then he was at the Roundabout. And he was my mentor because I could go to him with anything and my insecurities, my wibbles, all the rest of it, blah. And David would just roll his eyes and say, right, come on, Sealey, get a grip. And it was he who said, that I said I went to him with the Graeae job. And I said, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. He said, Jenny, you go for it. And he really, really pushed me, as did my partner at the time. But, if it hadn't been for Dave, DJ, I might not have gone for that job, and then my whole life would be different.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. When did theatre become your career?
I've been at Graeae for 22 years. I left Middlesex in 1986, cleaned 2 pubs, worked behind a bar for 2 or 3 years, in between some little acting jobs with Graeae, Red Lad and all the rest of it. And then half moved for 5 years. So I suppose theatre directing big time was when Joan was born, so that was 1994. So I started directing in 1994.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence to pursue this as a career?
I'm still trying to find that. I am not a confident person. But I think because I had a board meeting the other day, and when I'm in a board meeting, I go to pieces. I struggle to talk about the work. I babble. So my board have suggested I have some coaching. I've been at Graeae for 22 years, you could think. But you're only as good as your last job, if you know what I mean. So I think that terror that it's all gonna go tits up is. I'm not saying that I'm not confident. Obviously, I have a level of confidence, but I'm also constantly terrified that it's all going to go tits up. And I think all of us are like that, because you never know what's around the corner. But that's good. It gives you a sort of adrenaline just to keep going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely understand that. What's been the biggest setback in your career?
What the setback? There was a time when we had a report done. I can't remember why we had a report done, but basically this HR person came to talk to all the staff about the structure of the company, what wasn't going right, and all the rest of it. And it ended up being a character assassination of me. It was like some members of staff gave me a vote of no confidence. It was horrible. And my partner at the time was very, very sick. Very, very sick. And I just remember going to him and saying, please, Dan, I know, please could you just read this? Tell me what I have to do. And I gave him to read it. And it was sour grapes. It wasn't, it was coming from a bad place and they were wrong. And he said, what do you think you need to do, Dan? I said, I need to resign, don't I? He went, I think you do. So I handed in my resignation, but the board wouldn't accept it. And that's happened twice. So that's very reassuring. But that was a real setback. And actually recently, after we've had some hard times with our board, and that's really knocked me for 6. So what I'm so lucky is that my staff allow me to ball it, be vulnerable, say I want to give up, and they just, bam, they group and they hold me. They are amazing. And let me be crap. Over a period of time, then they say, come on, Jan, get over yourself. And, support me, because they said, we need you to lead. Please, can you come back and be our leader? So that's been things that I don't know what I'm saying here, really. But that ability to be vulnerable in an organisation is very, very powerful. So many people can't. So I do feel very lucky.
How do you cope with these setbacks?
I don't think, not very well. I think I've said it in my answer in a way, in that I go underground, but I'm allowed to. And then I go into this huge panic about, oh my God, I am seriously worried about what is Graeae's, unique selling point, because everyone is taking our aesthetics and playing around with it, doing some amazing work. So if that's out there, then is there a need for Graeae? And that keeps me awake at night. I like to think, yes, there is, but we might have to reposition ourselves as a company. How do I cope? I probably drink too much, probably cry a lot, but I'm a stubborn old bugger as well. And I like a fight, I like a challenge, and I'm not scared of conflict, really. So I just have to pick myself up and go, right, come on, Sealey, go for it.
I'm just so interesting to hear. What do you enjoy most about your job?
What part of my job do I enjoy the most? Oh, directing plays. I hate being in the office doing typing. I'm not very good at that. I love being in a rehearsal room. And I love being in schools. I've got a new schools project. I'm doing monologues with a special school. I hate calling them special schools, but and half the group are non-verbal communicators. So we are redefining what the monologue is. It doesn't have to be words or spoken words, and they are just glorious, smart young people. I love being there. Being here today, talking to you, it's anything that's not in the office, I think.
What isn't quite so good about your job?
Oh, numbers, budgets, hate it. I could set a budget and I could spend the money, but trying to do what my finance director does, with reconciling, I think I'm dyslexic actually when it comes to numbers. And I'm not just saying that, I just look at budgets and the variations of it, or whatever it is. I glaze over. So my interpreters, when I'm in finance meetings, my interpreters can see my face just glaze over, so they start to talk about something completely different to wake me up. It's very good. I'm sorry, focus.
Can you tell us a bit more about the work that Graeae makes?
Graeae set up 40 years ago to readdress the balance or imbalance that there was no opportunities on stage for deaf and disabled people. And when it first started out, it went to very small-scale theatres, and we still do that. But now more of the bigger reps, they have made their buildings backstage more accessible, so we have much more opportunities to grace the stage, a greater diversity of stages across the country. We develop new writers, deaf and disabled new writers, we develop actors and directors. We work in London, nationally and internationally. And I've got a massive project in Japan next month, but because of the coronavirus, don't know whether I'll be able to go. But it's taking 3 UK disabled artists, 2 Bangladeshi artists, and 5 Japanese artists, and we're doing the Tempest, because it's the only Shakespeare I actually really know. And having that opportunity to work across 3 different languages, or 6 different languages, Japanese sign language is completely different from English, BSL completely different from Bangla, so it's like, oh. And I really want to go, I really want to do it, because we've been developing it for 2 years, and I'm also training up a Bangladeshi director and 2 Japanese directors, disabled people, because we think that we haven't got enough opportunities here. In Japan and in Bangladesh, still very, very little opportunity. So I'm on a mission.
It's wonderful that you're doing that. You were joint artistic director in the opening ceremony of the Paralympic Games in 2012. How did that job come about?
That was one of the most incredible 14 months of my life. It was the hardest thing, apart from childbirth, it was one of the hardest things I think I've ever done. But I found out that another company, a non-disabled theatre company, had got the job. So I went to see the head of the ceremonies, But he didn't know that I knew that this other company had got the job. And I just sat saying, oh, I hope the work will go to deaf and disabled artists. There's lots of us around who could lead this. And I think because we've got this, the Paralympics sport, then we need to match that with the excellence of disabled people. And he said, oh, no, we've got a non-disabled company doing it. Do you think we will not work with them? I said, oh, no, we will, of course we will. I want opportunities for my artists. We've set up circus training. We're prepared. But I think, what a shame, what a missed opportunity. And then I was in Japan and on the underground, and my phone went. That company had pulled out. And Marta was asking Bradley and I whether we wanted to go for an interview to become joint artistic directors. We had 6 brutal interviews. Oh, God, they put us through the mill, they really did. And finally, when they said that we could get the job, Marta took Bradley and I out for a drink, but we were just like, cheers, well done, I've got a bed now. And we had 5 weeks to come up with our narrative because the government were about to go on holiday. So we had to have Jeremy Hunt and Boris and all of them. We had to tell our story, and we'd gone for something. We used enlightenment as our theme and equality, and used the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as our foundation. And I just remember Boris going, oh, it's a bit clever, isn't it? Well, what do you want? We're not going to do the Teletubbies. I mean, some of the other Paralympic ceremonies have been so juvenile. And it's like, no way. We are going to tell a story. It's going to be political. It's about rights. And, we are going to populate our field of play with as many deaf and disabled people who are really embrace diversity in its wider thing. And we did. And we trained up 44 deaf and disabled artists in circus skills, and they were part of our professional team. My Miranda was Nicky Wilding, wheelchair user, and Ian McKellen loved her. And we had Stephen Hawking. Lizzie Emma was, learned disabled songstress. She was the part of the warm-up act, and then she sang I Am What I Am with Beverly Knight right at the end. We got the people we wanted. It was amazing. And at the end, there's a photograph of me after like that, and my facial expression is exactly the same as when I'd just given birth to Jonah. It's really weird, but oh God, it really did feel like giving birth. It was hard because we were the only disabled people in the whole of the operations team, so we had to be like a stuck record about what we wanted. And that I cried a lot. Frustration, really, but I had the most fantastic team of interpreters with me. So, felt supported. So access wasn't an issue, it was just getting everyone on a message. So there were 2 brilliant moments when the captioning guy said, can I play around with the artistic cloud? I said, yes, please, that's what we want you to do. So he created beautiful captions, and then I was walking across the field of play, and this guy with a big roll of rope and gaffer, whatever. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm just marking up the area for the navigation section, because I had quite a lot of blind performers in that, so that they had the rope on the floor so they could navigate. They didn't have to be held or dragged onto the stage. They could navigate their way, and they knew what their dance pattern was because of the rope. I didn't have to tell them to do that, they just knew that they had to do it. And so little things like, yes, small wins. But, every day Bradley and I had to choose our battles. My mum still wants to know when I'm going to get a proper job. So this feels a bit like therapy, actually.
It's absolutely amazing to hear the stories. What were the biggest challenges with the ceremony?
As a woman, it was dealing with so many blokes. I mean, God, it was so hard. And that thing, I hope the main producer was a fantastic woman called Catherine Hugo. I mean, she was on the floor with us art. She was amazing. And I went to her and I said, Catherine, that bit of the choreography with the sound thing, this is what needs to happen. She says, yes. Well, tell the team. I said, I have been telling the team till I am blue in the face. They are not listening to me. So in one of the big production meetings at 3 a.m. in the morning after a dress rehearsal, about 40 people around the table, terrifying, Catherine said, oh, and that bit, blah, 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 that needs to happen. And my team went, oh, yeah, oh, Catherine, absolutely. And then she looked at me, Jenny, was there anything else you wanted me to add to that? To let them know that I'd gone to her with the idea, but they weren't bloody listening. So she really put them in their place. But she kept saying to me, for God's sake, grow pair, Jen. Stop being so, stand up for what you want. She was. Everybody talk about inspirational women, she was actually phenomenal. And Jude Kelly is another phenomenal woman. Sorry, but yeah. So that they were just dealing with blokes. Men like it to be their idea. So I became very clever at getting my ideas in, making them think that it was their idea. It's exhausting.
What was your greatest moment with the ceremony?
Oh God, there's so many moments. We were told that we had absolutely zero money for a real firework display, but they didn't tell us. So we went on the actual night. The fireworks were incredible. They've kept that a secret for us, which was really, really lovely. There's been in a tiny little sound studio with Beverly Knight. She's saying, right, Jen, this is my wedding pictures, what do you think? Oh, the song I'm thinking about, and she just blast out the first bit of I Am What I Am in this tiny blast, a massive voice. I'm half like, oh, wow. But I think the ceremony and all that are credible. But some of the personal journeys, one of my circus artists, this young man called Stephen Bantz arrived, first day of training, and that's his sign name, Bantz, because he was a satchel thing. He's a double amputee, he had meningitis when he was 11. He's got some fingers missing as well, body scarred, and terrible backstory in his family, but he wouldn't show anybody his prosthetics. My army boys, who've lost their limbs through war, were much more confident, take legs off, get up on the trapeze and all the rest of it. And then one day someone went down, look. Bunsey came in in shorts. And a bit later on, he was up on the trapeze. His legs off. And then he had his sway pole test, and he climbed up the top of the pole, double amputee, climbed up, slots himself into the tight buckle down your legs. So basically he's floating in air. And he came down, and Grant, who was the sway pole director, said, you're in, you could be a sway pole performer. Bunsey bawled it and said, I've never dared go swimming with my son because of my body, all this stuff, and his confidence. That personal story of him just really owning who he is, and he's still a good friend, and I'm still always there to back him up. He's amazing. So those stories are the ceremony. And the fact that my friend who lives in Queens phoned me up, he said, I've just watched the ceremony, Jen. Text me, said, Jen, I've just watched the ceremony, and the broadcaster was saying, oh my God, I have never seen so many disabled people in something. We in Greece, we've got all these statues of people with no arms, but we do not talk about disability. And here, disability is in our face, it's glorious. So things like that, you go, oh my God. And I suppose a moment was the next day when we were on the front page of every single newspaper. So even the Daily Mail got it. That's a win.
I'd like to talk about the changes in the industry for women. Have you noticed anything at all?
There has been a lot of change. About time, we have Indu at the Kiln, Vicky Featherstone at Royal Court, and Vicky Featherstone when I was at the National Theatre of Scotland. Women are getting out there, taking the jobs, and and having that thing about putting more women on the writers and plays about women. So this is less fear. So it's a good time to be a woman in theatre. We've still got a lot to do. And it's so ridiculous, the National announcing their programme and just looked down, it's like all men. They were very shamefaced about that. So they've got to do quite a lot to really, really embed some proper politics within the organisation. But a lot's changing. What we still need, though, is more lighting designers, more women in the technical side of theatre.
Yeah. What are the advantages of being a woman in your role?
Oh, blimey. Oh, I don't know how to answer that. I think the advantages, I think women are much better communicators than men. We are more transparent. We work with our intuition and guts, and we're not afraid to do that. So I think that's what makes us better directors. Dare I say that? But I think there is something that we have, that glorious intuition that I think that's an advantage.
What are the disadvantages of being a woman in your role?
Because men think they're better than us. So constantly having to just keep our heads above the parapet. How to say it? Parapet?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Keep your head up. I think that it's hard. I feel like we're constantly having to run a campaign for equality. And, when they all came out about the gender pay gap, it was like shocking. So, we've got stuff to do.
We've spoken a bit about the theatre as a place for women, but can you tell us a bit about the industry for deaf and disabled artists?
I mean, that is changing because of 20 years of Graeae campaigning and Graeae doing big shows like the Threepenny Opera, where other regional reps all saw, wow, we're not, dumbing down the quality. This is good theatre. Reasons to be Cheerful, my Ian Dury punk musical, it's good theatre. So something, people's eyes are open, maybe we too can employ these people. So they are out there, and deaf acts are hugely in demand, which is great, but I think everyone's a bit like, oh my gosh, sign language is so beautiful. So it's irritated me a little bit because there are a lot of other differently impaired actors that need a chance as well. But there is work now, and that's the message I keep saying to the drama schools. It is worth training us because there are jobs. So many drama schools say, well, there's not enough plays written with disabled characters. It's like, that's not the point. Shakespeare didn't say that Juliet was or was not a wheelchair user or deaf or blind. So come on. So one of the things that we are really trying to challenge is companies cripping up. It still happens. You would never, ever black up. So why do you crip up? And at the moment our big battle is with the old bit because Alan Cummings is playing a blind wheelchair user in Endgame. It's like, did you try and find a blind actor or a wheelchair user to play that part? But because we haven't got any stars, haven't got any names, apart from Liz Carr on Silent Witness, those theatres say, no, we need an aim to sell seats. So, and I keep saying, but, acting is about being somebody else. So you can play a disabled person, but not at the moment, not until there's absolute parity on the stages and we are employed as much as non-disabled people. Then we can think about how we cast and sieve up the roles.
Mm-hmm. Would you say it's progressive?
It is progressing. But we need training. The most awful thing will be is if there's a mass hole in training that the new generation don't come through. So the older lot have been around, locking around a long time. Most of them have had to be part of Graeae. They're good. They're professional and they're good, but we need the young lot to be pushed through to get to that standard so that we can keep the journey progressing.
What would you say is the biggest thing that needs to change?
Drama schools. Drama schools need to train us. And at the moment our ensemble is really supported by Rose Buford, who really understands it, and all the tutors for ensemble are from the drama schools. So it's like a twofold thing that those tutors who are terrified about disability get a chance to work with our lot, realise how they can change and adapt some of their teaching practice, so it's really inclusive. So it's a two-way thing, and we get brilliant tuition because they are brilliant teachers. But the next stage has to be that they have more than one disabled people on their course. At the moment there's one wheelchair user on the acting course at RADA, one on the stage management. What? Come on.
If you had a magic wand and could change one thing in the industry, what would it be?
Well, it's at the moment the whole thing that's really impacting terribly on deaf and disabled people is access to work, putting a cap on the provision, and PIP, personal independence payments thing. Two of my ensemble have had their care packages cut, and it might mean for one of them that they have to go back and live in a hospital because they need 2 support workers 24/7, and they've cut their 60%. We're involved in a campaign at the moment. They are the most brilliant young artists, and a lot of my other performers have had their mobility cards taken, so they can't come to work. It's horrendous what the government are doing. So that is, if I could magic that, access and payments would not be an issue. Everyone has what they need. It's heartbreaking, it really is.
I completely agree with your political view on that. What would you say is your greatest achievement?
My biggest achievement is just being at Graeae for 22 years. It's extraordinary. That they've allowed me to stay that long. I mean, when people say about the ceremony, they say, well, that must be the best thing you've ever done. It's like, well, it's one of many things I've done. I can't say that's, every play is different. Every play is a challenge. Every play takes you on a new journey. So they're all achievements. Some are better than others. I don't know what my biggest achievement is. I suppose having a child and being a working mum is always an achievement. It's juggling all those things. And I think I'm incredibly proud when I go and see someone who's in a different play. Like last night, seeing Oliver, seeing 3 people. I thought, we've all come through Graeae. Well done, you. For that, seeing how we've impacted on the industry, that is massive.
Yeah. Is there a production that you're most proud of?
I'm proud of that we did the Fall of the House of Usher, and I didn't have any money to have it audio described or signed, so my board said, you've got to do it though, Jan. So I had to be really resourceful, and Stephen Burkhoff has written more stage directions than text, in this very wonderfully pretentious way that Stephen Burkhoff does. So I wrote to him and said, can I use the text or stage directions as audio description? Spoken by the actors. I said, that's a really good idea. And I pre-recorded all the sign language with a deaf actor. So that was projected onto this little mirror above the bed, which was the main set, which I designed to save money. And that play, where all the signing was, so it was simultaneously signed and audio described by that. So everything within the whole, we did it all. It wasn't nothing was added on. That play changed the face of Graeae forever. That's when we realised, oh my God, this works, this is exciting, this is different. And so Usher will always be, wow, I loved that play, and then Blasted was an amazing experience because everything that Sarah Kane wrote in round brackets, I thought it was supposed to function as lines, but my blind co-director, Alex, had worked on it before, said, no, they're audio descriptions, and we can say them live. So we did. And again, that was another game changer for Graeae.
Well, obviously you've done so much in your career, but what do you feel like you have left to do?
Oh God, stuff. I want to sing an opera, so I want to be the first deaf opera director at the Royal Opera House. Don't think that's going to happen, but the opera will happen, but whether it's at the Royal Opera House, probably not. So I do opera. We've never done anything at the Barbican. I have never done anything at the National. Amit Sharma, my associate, had his play on at the National, Solid Life of Sugar Water, a Graeae production. Brilliant. Nicky Wilding, my associate director, is Rufus Norris's protégé, and he keeps saying to me, no, I'm interested in Nicky, Jan. I keep saying, but Rufus, it's on my bucket list. Not interested. So I need to just get over myself on that one. And I do want to really, really push the agenda with deaf-blind performers of how we work that. I did a project in Moscow with deaf-blind actors, and that happened here. And it's a whole other landscape of exploration. So I've got stuff, and I also want to do some work with little ones. And I've got my own solo show that I'm doing, but that's sort of a side of Graeae. And on Saturday, my little tiny company, a women's collective called Where's My Vagina, is doing our universal declarations of the vagina. We've got 28 new declarations, and well, 29 actually, and some stories from some of the women interspersed. So we're doing that at WOW. So stuff to do.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to. How would you suggest a young person like us can get into the industry?
How do young people get into? I think join a youth theatre. Really, really important. Some of the best actors out there went to youth theatre, and I wish to God that they would always put it in their bio because it's really important. And I think it's so upsetting when so many theatres, you know, when they're having to restructure or make cuts, they cut the youth theatre. No. Youth theatre is better than drama schools, really. You get so much more diversity in, and you're allowed to play and explore. But so many youth theatres are not accessible for deaf and disabled people, and that really needs to change. So go to youth theatre, see a lot of work if you can. Go and see things at tiny theatre. Go and see something in a massive theatre. Start to know what sort of theatre you like, and read plays, and try and write plays. Just immerse yourself in the whole world. And because it's a brutal, brutal profession, you know, the rejection, you need to learn how to build your resilience. You have to have so much to get through it.
What advice would you give your younger self?
I knew this sort of question would come up. I wish at the age of 7 I was brave enough to say I'm deaf. I didn't say I was deaf until I was 23. So I got through life by nodding and trying to lip read. I mean, my education was pants. I've got so many gaps, and I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I've got a forest around academia and education because mine was rubbish. And, you know, so that's what I would say. Be brave, say you are deaf. It's all right. That would be my advice.
Yeah. Before we end this interview, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to talk about?
No, I don't think so. They're good questions. Hard. Yeah, so thank you. You're a very nice interviewer.
It's been so fascinating talking to you.